I wanted to get nice bright ones so that they stand out.
I think a lot of me, none of my work with anyone.
Exactly.
But then I know
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted. So take a binder. I've got binders for everybody. Hi, Nicky. Hi, how are you? Could you take a binder? Hi, Stefan.
Hi. Hi, Stefan. Hi, Vicky. Let's create all the...
Hi, how are you?
We are. First of all, I want to start by giving an applause, and please join me, to our camera woman. She's there every day. And then we can enjoy the video, which is another way of seeing us. I fear it myself, so it's another way of learning. So we have an ambitious program, so I want to hand over to our speech mother and mastermind, Toastmaster Claire. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everybody. This is Speechcraft 3, so you are very well embarked, and in fact there's only today and next week to go. Of course, after that there's lots more, but Speechcraft itself, we're on day 3. Now, since we're on day 3, and I noticed that 1 or 2 people have struggled this time, I wanted to just say a few words about struggling. Many years ago, I did a short intensive course to teach English as a foreign language to foreigners, to adults. And this was a 1-month course, and I had to commute to London every day on the train, and there was a terror campaign going on in London that month. My purse was stolen, my telephone at home broke down, there were tremendous snowstorms in Britain, in southern England, which was unheard of. So this month was absolutely terrible for me. We had lots of homework, and I can remember getting home one night after not being able to catch a train home. So I finally got home about 11 o'clock in the evening, and I looked at all the homework I had to do, which was about 4 hours, and I thought, well, I have to leave at about 5 o'clock in the morning. So I thought, well, I'm going to have about 2 or 3 hours sleep. So every day we were doing teaching practice, a short teaching practice, and we were evaluated every time. And there were several days there when I stood up feeling like death. And before I stood up, I thought, how am I going to do this? I can't possibly stand up in front of people feeling like this and actually teach anybody. Well, what I found out is not only did I do it, but some of my best lessons then and since have been given under that kind of pressure. So what you're learning here in Toastmasters is, yes, you're learning to speak, and it sounds pretty straightforward. Yeah, go and write your speech, edit it, learn it, come along and give it. But then the baby's ill, and you're overwhelmed at work, and you're ill, and last night you didn't sleep too well. And so you end up thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't prepare this properly, I feel terrible, I can't do this. But that is precisely what you're learning. That's what you're learning here at Toastmasters, that you can stand up here and you can look professional, no matter what is happening. So you never stand up here and say, you know, I only slept 2 hours last night, you know. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys, because I didn't have time to... Well, you know, my PowerPoint would have been a lot better, you know, if there hadn't been an emergency. No, we don't say any of this. We come to this podium and we shine. And nobody knows that some sort of emergency has gone on beforehand, yeah? And even if your PowerPoint doesn't work at the last moment, what we learn at Toastmasters is that you're still going to carry on regardless, and you're still going to give a polished presentation. Somehow, you're going to do it.
It's very encouraging.
So, when you stand up here and you look out there, you could think of having like a neon sign in front of you, and it's flashing at you in red letters, and it's saying, "Don't panic! Don't panic! It's all okay. It's all under control." So with that, I'm going to carry on without further ado, because we have a very, very full program today. We are going to have a very, very short educational presentation today, given by Toastmaster Valérie. I've lost her now, there she is. So she's going to give us a very, very brief educational presentation and a handout, which I have here, on organising your speech, and then we're going to go straight into the speeches. Some people are not giving speeches today, so we will save a little bit of time, but basically time is of the essence, because we really only do have about 2 minutes for each speech. So I'm going to hand over immediately to our general evaluator, who will introduce his very miniature team.
Thank you. One of the pleasures that you have in Toastmaster is to come and evaluate. Yeah, it's a pleasure to do evaluations. You will discover afterwards. Now, today, my team could be very small or could be seen as very big. Krista will do our timing, so you will look at her. She will give you instructions later on about the color that she's going to use it to tell you how far are you in your speech. And then each one of the older ones will do the evaluation. I'm still hoping 2 of us to come to do the evaluation. We have put the list of you in that board, and also the evaluators. Yeah? So, Valerie will do the speeching now, or?
No.
Okay. So, let me now introduce Valerie.
Could you introduce the timer?
Okay,
To explain
so,
the timer.
Krista, could you explain how timing works?
Hello Toastmasters, as a repetition, because I'm sure you heard this already last time, You have 2 minutes, it's not a very long time, but maybe when one is a beginner in speaking, it's long enough. And after 1 minute is over, I will show you the green card, so you know 1 minute is over. 1.5 minutes, the yellow card, and after 2 minutes, this card. I mean, so it's, when you see the yellow card, think about getting close to an end. So, good luck.
Thank you. Now let me introduce you.
Sorry, for the purpose of clarity, how long do we have? We were told last week, 2 minutes 30 seconds to 3 minutes. We've been told 2, and we were written 5 to 7, and we have prepared our speeches to reflect 5 to 7, which was the official email we received. So please, can there be clarity? That's what
Yes, I've tried to make that clear, or we have all tried to make that clear. Usually in Speechcraft you have 12 participants, and normally, according to the manual, I think it's 3 minutes to speak. But what's happened this time is, because we don't run Speechcraft very often, we have 19 participants. So we've had to reduce the speech times to 2 minutes. So this is different from what it says in your manuals, and it's also different from what it says on Easy Speak, because there's no way for us to set Easy Speak to reflect 2 minutes. So that's why we said verbally, we said 2 minutes. So you're aiming for 2 minutes, but you may go over the 2 minutes up to 2.5. Yeah? But if you run over, well, okay, you run over, But the issue is that we need to finish by 2 o'clock because people need to get back to work. So that's why there's pressure on limiting the length of the speeches. However, 3 people are not giving speeches today, so we've got a little bit more leeway. So don't worry.
May I add something? This is just a guideline in this case. Important is when you go to a contest, of course, then the timing is very important because if you're over the time, you get disqualified. But here we're just learning, so this is just a guideline for you, that you know when the 2 minutes are over. And if you take a little longer, I think it is accepted.
So, red card, trying to conclude your speech. You have no time almost there. Red card, you trying to conclude your speech. Now, let me present Valerie for the
Does everybody has these handouts? I have distributed them here. I don't know if it's okay. So I will move just a little bit here because I need to use the... Okay, so let's start. Who has already attended speeches and could not see clearly the aim of the speech? Who has been attending speeches and could not explain to the neighbor what's the conclusion of the speech? I was myself in that case several times. Does it mean that the speaker was not good? No. Very often, if you have a speech, the speech is given by a knowledgeable person. He has a lot of experience, he knows what he is talking about. The problem is that sometimes the speech itself is not so well organized. That's why here we decided to give a very short educational session about how we could effectively organize a speech. First of all, to organize a speech, there is a basic rule, a very basic one. There is a basic organizational method. First, you have to tell the audience what you are going to tell the audience. First. Second, you tell the audience. Third, you tell the audience what you have told the audience. You will understand afterwards my point of view. When you have to speak in front of an audience, the first thing you have to get is the subject, the title, the outline. When you get the outline, you need an introduction. Here is the key word. You have to tell the audience what you are going to tell. It's the introduction. You need a body. You are going to tell the audience. Today, I am going to speak about the importance of being a Toastmaster fellows nowadays. You have to come with your main ideas, and you have to bring also supporting material. Why? Because for the audience, it's more catchy, It's important to, you will see it later, I don't want to go into detail, but to come with
you know, clear example with numbers, with, you know, material to support your speech. And you have to come with a conclusion. The conclusion is you tell the audience what you have taught them, okay? So it's a very, very basic rule, but this rule is not always very often used. Now you find your subject, you find your outline, and you have to fill in the outline. So take now this handout you have received from me, and check what are the very important points when you decide to organize a speech. First of all, you have to list the key points of your speech. You have to state the main idea of your speech in one sentence. Today, I want to speak about the importance of being a Toastmaster. You have this in your mind. After that, you have to build 3 or 5 statements about your reason of speaking, you know. Not more than 3 to 5. Why? Because after, our brain gets confused. For instance, in that case, I can say, for me, it's important to be a Toastmaster member because I would like you to increase your communication skills. I would like you to increase your leadership skills. I would like you to become a better communicator. You know, main ideas. So you are in the generic part. When you have this statement fixed in your head, you have to move to the second point. Arrange their statement in your head, you know. You have to come from a generic statement and go into detail, logically and sequentially. You have to expand these statements. How? By giving example. You cannot say, you know, it's important to be a Toastmaster nowadays because, you know, you have to increase your communication skills nowadays and that's it. No, you have to go into detail and give example why it is important nowadays to communicate, for instance, you know. You have to come with some anecdotes, you have to come with, you know, you can make the people participating as well. Here, we come back to the third important things we always should have in a speech. You have to develop an introduction. So you have your subject, you know your statement, and now you come back to the introduction. How am I going to attract my audience? The introduction is very, very important in a speech because it is there that you are going to capture all the audience. If you have a very bad introduction, everybody will lose you. So the introduction could be short, but very intense, okay? And normally based on personal experience. It's even more attractive. Now, you have to pay attention. You can have a wonderful introduction, but if your introduction is wonderful and you have nothing to say about your subject, it's no sense, you know? The introduction should be at the image of the body. You have to convey a message, okay? It is important. I just want to come back to introduction. If you are in your introduction, it is always good also to inform the audience about what will be coming, what will be coming in the body. You know, it's always also much more attracting for the audience. And of course, what is very important is your conclusion. You have to develop your conclusion because the conclusion is the very last word you will throw between brackets to your audience. And normally, the very last words are the one we keep in mind. So it is important to repeat in the conclusion what you want to tell them, what you told them, and to repeat it again there, you know, because the aim of a speech
is to bring you something. We are not here to sit, to listen passively. We want to learn something. So, to reach everything, you know, you can be helped. You can make like some diagram or some mind map, you know, to help you to build your speech. At the beginning. Afterwards, no. It will be automatical for you to know exactly what you want to do, but at the beginning, for the person who has to organize very well his or her speech, he can work like that. So he has to get, step first, his main or her main topic. You see? To have an outline, an idea around the topic, to know what you want to convey with that topic, the tell them formula, and to develop the ideas, the statement of your topic. So you see, it's what we said before, tell them formula, main topic, outline, develop all the ideas of the topic. And everything is interconnected, of course. And this, it happens very often also that you want to convey a message about a subject and you lose yourself among other subjects. You have always to come back to the center of your speech. The second step, you have the outline, so the idea, what you want to convey as message. And you have, as we say, the introduction, the body, and the end. And everything is interconnected. Alors, it is an advice, of course. You have to keep your map orderly. You have to use different paper to understand where you want to go. You can put in one paper your introduction, in another paper your body, and in the last one your conclusion. And of course, you are invited to use color, to use number, to use, you know, at the beginning to try to be well organized. And the conclusion is, to me, really realistic. It is best to do things systematically, since we are all human and disorder is our worst enemy. So we think sometimes that we convey a message, that in our head it's clear the message we want to convey, but it's not always so clear, because we have all different way of thinking and seeing things. So if you use that kind of tricks, introduction, body, conclusion, outline, message you want to convey, you will easily reach your audience and have a successful speech. That's it.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Valérie, for an introduction to organising your speech. So now we move into the speech-making part of this meeting. So this is where we deliver our prepared speeches, what we call prepared speeches. So here on the flip chart, we have the names of the speakers. Please note names in brackets are not speaking, which means that Enoch will actually be our first speaker today. And you'll see on the right, you will see the evaluators. So what we need to do now is you need to give your Speechcraft manual to your evaluator. Okay? So if you can exchange or give your manuals to your evaluators now so that they can prepare your evaluations.
So, Enoch is Valerie, Claudia Maya, Julian me, Joby Claire, Stefan Claire,
Sorry, I will do.
Joan Magdalena, Nadia Tuition, me, Then
I think many people didn't come.
Gentian is Victoria. Constance Valerie. Meklit Maya. Maya's over there. Gillian Victoria. Gillian is not here. And Daniela for Magdalena.
That cost me much more time. Yeah, that cost me more time.
5 people who are not speaking. So we're not short of time. So, the next question I have for you is that I asked you also to prepare an introduction of the next speaker. So could I just have a quick show of hands to say who actually managed to do that? Okay, some of you did. That's looking pretty promising, actually. Okay. So if you didn't, don't worry. Just do the introduction anyway. But you won't have any extra information that enables you to specifically introduce that speaker. Now, just in case people did not have anything prepared, I've put a text up here. So the idea is that Enoch will start and he'll give his speech, and when he's finished his speech, remember one of the tips we've given already is that when we finish our speech, we don't finish with thank you, and we don't finish with that's it, or that's all. Basically, when you've finished your speech, just finish. Because pausing has tremendous impact. So if you finish your speech on a firm note, a final note, it will be clear to everybody that you have finished speaking. Yeah? But if you sort of trail off and sort of, nobody actually knows that you've finished. Yeah? So you should finish with a note of finality, yeah? And then pause. So once you've finished speaking, then introduce, please, the next speaker. So just pause for a moment and then introduce the next speaker. Again, as polished as you possibly can. Professionalism is the watchword here at Speechcraft. Let me now read out the objectives for this week's speeches. I think everybody's doing
Gentian is doing his icebreaker speech.
Gentian is doing his icebreaker speech, so I will also read out the objectives for the icebreaker speech so that we know. So the icebreaker speech, objectives. To begin speaking before an audience, to help you understand what areas require particular emphasis in your speaking development, to introduce yourself to your fellow participants, and again the time is 2 minutes. So Gentian is going to do his icebreaker, but everybody else is going to organise your speech. So for most people today, these will be the objectives. As Valérie has already described, to organise your thoughts into a logical sequence that leads the audience to a clearly defined goal. To build a speech outline that includes an opening, a body, and a conclusion. And again, 2 minutes is the aim. So I would now like to introduce our next speaker, or our first speaker, who is Enoch. So Enoch, if you would like to come to the podium. Just a moment, if I may. So we don't leave the podium unattended. I can't leave the podium until Enoch has arrived. He can't leave it until the next speaker has arrived, okay? So now he takes control of the podium and I move away. Yeah.
Do we hear the titles of the speech before the speaker starts?
Yes, we should, actually. Yes, we should.
Moments.
Do you have a title?
Yes, moments.
moments. I'm sorry, I thought you were asking for a moment. So it's my very great pleasure to introduce Enoch, who is going to be our first speaker today, and he is doing project 2, or the second speech project of the Speech Manual, and the title of his speech is Moments. Ladies and gentlemen, Enoch.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters, and thank you for being here today. I think most of you would agree with me that we've had a very pretty week last week since our last event here last week. And I mean weather-wise, it was very sunny, it was warm, and very African. And because it was very African, I behaved very much last week as I used to do in Nigeria. I played so much, ate so much, and I forgot to do my homeworks, which required delivery here today. Thanks to Toastmaster Magdalena, who sent me a personal email reminding me that I had a homework to do here today. And I sat down somewhere on my bed, and for a moment I asked myself, where do I start? What do I write on? Where do I end? In the hollowness of my mind, a thought came flashing and it said, moments define greatness and not efforts. And the deeper I thought about the flash and the thought, the more clear it was to me that it's true. Because our life is not defined by the efforts or time, but the amount of moments we seize to ourselves. Moments to laugh, moments to play. That very moment you look up to your interviewer in the eye and say the exact thing he was thinking about in a manner you got a job. The moment you learned that very special thing that distinguished you out from the rest in your office. But that is not all about moments. We have different types of moments. We have good and bad moments. Now the question arises, what moments really defines us the most? In summary to this, it's not just about good moments, but also the bad moments. As Martin Luther King once said, that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of convenience and comfort, but where he stands in times of challenges and triumphs. As I evaluated myself and had a reflection over moments, I realized that the springboard to life is not just about the good moments, but the bad moments, where we stand in times of challenges and controversies. Ladies and gentlemen, this takes me to my point. We should beware to take challenges, to accept it and say to challenges, come, because it's you are meant for. It is actually the quality of decisions we make in difficult times that determine the quality of life that we live. Let's not forget that only a true test of fire makes a fine steel. And I used to hear that when there is no pain, there is actually no gain. It is my pleasure to welcome Claudia. She's Hi Claudia. Claudia is going to speak to us on a very, very interesting topic named Julian, or Julian's story, her son's story. She's a passionate believer in children, a lover of her son, and she has decided to educate us today on a very important topic which I think is interesting and we should pay attention to, which is Julian's story.
So, my son is right now in Ecuador. He's 18 years old, and he is living actually in a very little town, middle of Ecuador, where you can see there with the right point. His name is Ambato. This story started a year ago when my son, Julian, was finishing his education at high school and didn't know what to do. He's a passionate lover of children, he's artistic, he likes to be with people, and he wanted to do something which is relevant for his life. He said, "Mommy, I want to do something important, and I want to do something in South America because I'm half South American, I've never been there." So I started thinking as a mother, and I said, how can I help him? I said, okay, he doesn't know what to do, next step. And then I thought about, what do you think about doing a social year? He was so enthusiastic. He went out in internet, he found about the organization, he went to an information event, he found a very nice organization with this, working with the young people, educating them. He went through a selection process, he was selected, and he went through a year of workshops during the weekends where he learned a lot about conflict resolution, learning how to deal with difficult children. And now he is almost half a year in this small city, living with very, very poor people, poor children, taking care of them. So he's now become an adult because he's like the mentor for these children. And that's what he's doing there. I mean, the photo is not very good, but this is Julian in the middle of a dining or breakfast room. He woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, then he prepares breakfast for them. He prepares them to go to school. And then during the day, he's just there for the kids and learn with them and play with them. Finalize, I just want to put there one of the sentences I liked so much he wrote in his blog about the kids. He said, "They inspire me, and I learn so much every day from them. I hope they will also get some positive things from me for their lives." So I'm now very happy to introduce our colleague Türkan Hatram. She's 29 years old. She's from South Turkey, and she's a staff member of the IAEA, working as a super user coordinator, and she's going to talk about ERP project.
Okay. Oh, you can tell.
ERP project implementation.
Before we start the clock, maybe I misunderstood today's assignment because I'm going to introduce someone, but I'm not going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about the other person, okay? So I made up a story, and the story is, we are at a scientific forum. We are all scientists here. I'm here to introduce another scientist. So I'm going to talk about about himself, this scientist. So I'm not going to talk about myself. This is what I understood from this assignment. I hope it's right. So let me start then. We evaluate later. Alright. Good afternoon, Madame Toastmaster, guests and friends. Today we are honored to have a guest speaker from International Atomic Energy Agency, Joby John Murikenin-Nickel. Joby is the director of the Division of Nuclear Fuel Cycle and Waste Technology at the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. He graduated from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and he has a PhD in nuclear engineering. He's been the author of several research papers in this subject. The IAEA promotes and develops two important aspects on radioactive waste management: universally applicable safety regime through the development of safety standards and application of safe and proven technologies in radioactive waste management. Our guest will talk about predisposal of radioactive waste, which is a part of the proven technologies in radioactive waste management. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our speaker, Joby John Murikanelika.
Namaskar. India is a country of diversity, and the diversity of India is unique. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, today I would like to talk to you about some interesting facts about the diversity of India in terms of religion, race, language, and living habits of the people. Starting with the linguistic diversity, there's no such thing as Indian language. There are more than 200 languages spoken in India, and the number will increase to 1,600 if you include dialects. Indian currency is printed in 50 languages, and a typical document is printed in 3 languages that are English, Hindi, and the local language. About religion, India is the most religious country in the world, and it is the only country where people profess all major religions of the world. About races, India received a large number of migratory races, mainly from eastern and western directions. These races has little in common, and the racial diversity in India is very perplexing. Finally, if we talk about the geographic diversity, in India there are places that's covered by snow throughout the year. There is a place where that gets 360 inches of rain throughout the year, that is highest in the world. It is because of this huge diversity why India is often referred to as a subcontinent. It is because of this huge diversity India is often referred to as the epitome of the world. Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, I welcome you to my country. I take the pleasure to invite Stefan for the next speech, and he's going to talk on a very interesting subject, that is fun means productivity.
Fellow Toastmasters, good afternoon. Throughout my past and my present, there have been 2 subjects which have always been very interlinked, and that is fun and productivity. I think in future the same will probably be the case, because I actually think that fun means productivity. Number 1, let me give you an example of the past. As you know, I have spent some time in South Africa, and many of my memories date back to the time that a person called Desmond Tutu, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, really inspired people across the racial divides. And he always, I'm actually not a religious person, but he always drew my attention. So, as a first point, I want to say that fun means productivity. When I look at the present, for instance, I always have got, I do work for security, and I maintain the equipment of security as well. So I have got this little game with one of the security officers that always makes a joke about one of the devices that I maintain for him. So he would, all of a sudden when I arrive in my car, he would jump in the middle of the street and he would say, "Hey Stefan, my device, it's not working. It was not working, but you came around the corner. And look, it started working." So that, of course, I have to repay the joke, and I will have to explain them that it was all due to the program which I changed yesterday, and because of the fact that I switched on the radio when I was arriving the checkpoint. Just to say that a bit of fun when your day starts really rejuvenates your day. It makes you more productive. So fun means productivity. Finally, for the future, every IT professional would like to work in California, working for a company like Google, Twitter, Facebook. And what is actually common for those companies? Well, these companies are very productive. And what do? Well, they maintain a very healthy, happy workforce. As a result, they stimulate creativity with their people, and as a result, the profits skyrocket. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that drawing attention throughout the racial divides, the religious divides, through fun, it means that fun actually means productivity. Also, when you start your day in a funny mode, when a joke rejuvenates, fun means productivity. Sorry, I actually lost my way here a little bit. I would like to thank you. Just to present our next guest, Glenda last week told us all about Peru, a native country. I think it's a bit of a passion to tell about her country, her own culture. She also convinced us that next time when we when we are searching for the ideal holiday, we should be finding her and talk to her just to find out a little bit more on how we should spend our holidays. So I would like to introduce Glenda on her talk, Finding is Reserved for the Success.
The routine traps you into planning your future. Fellow Toastmasters, not only a speech but as well life should have a roadmap where we go from the starting point to the destination. In life, every goal is a destination. I would like, with my speech, to encourage you into setting goals. Setting goals is important, but I think it was easier when we were in school times. The goals were actually given to us. First goal is finishing primary school with good grades, then secondary school, then university, and then what? Working for 40 years until we can go for our pension? So, my question to you, which is the next step in life which you would like to take? Which goals would you like to achieve? Why don't we just write a list of the goals we want to achieve in, say, 1 year's time, in 5 years' time? It could be actually anything. It could be visiting a country, it could be getting to know someone, it could be becoming somebody. We write it all down, we have it clear and make it clear for ourselves, and you know what? Take the list always with you. Because you know what the most fun of this thing is? To achieving something, having your list, taking it out, and checking it off. Because for some of your goals, you will have to develop some skills. You will have to work on some disciplines. Do not forget that to be more than you are, you have to become more than you have. To conclude, I would like to encourage you into writing your own list of goals. It could be small, it could be big, thinking that a ladder always starts with a small step. And fellow Toastmasters, do not forget that if you want to find, then you have to start searching. With this, I would like to introduce fellow Toastmaster Jin Jong. I am very honored to do this because she has set herself goals, she has developed skills, she is practicing disciplines. So let's welcome Jin Jong in her talk that is going to be about the spirit of the mother tongue.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. When I was in the States, I had an opportunity to listen to so-called inspirational speech from one of successful Korean Americans. And it was very, very good to everyone, but not to me. He argued that if few of our children succeed in the mainstream American society, we should not teach Korean, but they're putting more efforts on teaching English. The children can immerse themselves better into American society. It was very powerful because he was the influential figure in Korean American community. However, I believe his argument is neither influential nor even sensible to me. Because I have a true and very never withering philosophy that is, my children should keep their mother tongue no matter what happens. Here's my reason. Korea is a small country surrounded by three powerful belligerent countries, China, Japan, and Russia. Because of this geological misfortune, Korea has been invaded many times and was actually colonized for many decades. Despite the oppression of abandoning their language, our ancestors tried to keep it and pass it down to their children. I truly believe it was the power of a language that made all Koreans become a cohesive one and overcome all the obstacles and challenges together. I constantly face my children's challenges. Mom, should I learn Korean this hard? I say adamantly, of course you should. Otherwise, you will lose your culture your identity, and your spirit. Fellow Toastmasters, the word, the more the globalized world it becomes, the more we mothers, the more difficult we mothers have our children keep their mother tongue. However, I'll never give up teaching Korean to my children, and I hope all mothers living in this fast globalized world will not give up either. I'm very pleased to introduce next speaker, Nadia. And unfortunately, I did not have any time today to figure out what topic she's going to deliver. But this is her second project in speechcraft mission, right? So please welcome Nadia.
Hello, Toastmasters. How did I get my present job? Many people outside the UN city wonder how I managed to get into the UN system. My friends actually admire the fact that I obtained my work contract within 3 days only. Those 3 days were not funny at all, but today I just can laugh about it, and I also like to share this experience with you. Entry into the UN system usually requires an exam followed by an interview. I did pass this exam. However, when I have applied for a specific position at the UN department, however, instead of being invited for the interview for this position at this department, I was invited for an interview at a complete different organization which I've never heard of before, and for a position which at that time I was never interested in. So this organization, first imagine you are mentally fully prepared to answer any, or to respond to any queries regarding the post you have applied for, and then only have one single night to prepare yourself for an interview for a complete different position. The organization which invited me for that interview scheduled it the very next day for 2 p.m. So I had to come to Vienna by train because I had no accommodation here yet, and I remember that day it was raining buckets. So when I arrived at the reception at gate 1, I was informed that the interview was postponed to 3 p.m. So what to do? I was too excited to sit down to have a cup of coffee, so I just simply went out again into the rain. Coming back at 2:45, I was informed that the interview was scheduled to 5 p.m. I was a bit upset, and in order not to show it, I went out again to the rain. Finally, I made it to the office, wet, tired, hungry, and with no enthusiasm. So can you predict how I behaved in the interview? I very well remember that they wanted to test my Spanish language skills, and that instead of responding to the question, I just foolishly asked back, "Oh, usted es de España, so you're from Spain." Well, I've never heard from the UN, from the other UN department, but this organization, which contacted me on day 1, took me in the interview at day 2, and finally employed me at day 3, still bears with me for almost 40 years now. You see, the road to employment can be easy, it can also be difficult, but had it not been my luck and destiny to be employed or to hold this position at the International Narcotics Control Board, which is the organization that employed me, I would not have been here standing in front of you giving my speech now. I would like to introduce you now to Tuition. Tuition is a very dear colleague who also happens to work at the International Narcotics Control Board. He joined our team last year, 15th of December. Tuition is a national of Kyrgyzstan, and prior to coming to Vienna, he has worked for the UNODC office in Bishkek. Tuition is married, has 2 daughters, aged 8 and 6, and the title of his speech will be "The Most Important Thing in Life." Please let's welcome Tuition.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, what is the most important thing in life? Money? Family? Friends? I'm sure these things are all important, but in my opinion, the most important thing in our life is time, so I will try not to waste yours. I spend most of the time working in an NCB, so I try to use it as efficiently as possible. I read a lot of special reports, write requests, and I meet very special and interesting people every day. For instance, my colleague Nadia. By the way, she speaks many languages, and I'm not sure that there are enough fingers on one hand to count how many languages she speaks, and I only can guess how much time she spent learning them. Besides work, it's also important to find some time for sport. Swimming, running is too boring for me. I prefer collective sports such as football. So I decided to play football twice a week with my friends, and it's a very good way to spend your time. Also, I try to squeeze some time in to talk to my family. Being here in Vienna, I realized that I cannot spend much time talking to my family. The time difference between Austria and Bishkek is about 5 hours. So when it's 6 p.m. in Kyrgyzstan, it's 11 p.m. in Bishkek. So I can talk to my parents, brother, and daughters only on weekends. And in conclusion, I want to say that I don't believe in reincarnation, but I do know that we live now and today. So if you have something important to do, do it now and today. And manage your time efficiently. Don't waste it. The bad news, time flies. The good news, you are the pilot. It's to introduce Jenton. He wants to improve his communication skills, that's why he's here, join the club. And his topic will be about importance of learning foreign languages.
Fellow Toastmasters, it has been said that one language sets you in a corridor for life. 2 languages open all the doors all the way. And I want to share with you today my passion, one of my biggest passions in life, which is learning foreign languages. As a little child in Albania, I used to watch Western movies or classical ones, just to give this, to put this in perspective. Spartacus with Kirk Douglas, or Clint Eastwood in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And to my mind, they were always speaking in Italian. The movies were dubbed in Italian. I liked the characters, I identified myself with the heroes, but mostly I appreciated the language they spoke in. So from that moment onwards, I took an interest into learning Italian. Later on, while growing up, I studied English and to a lesser degree French, German, and Greek and Spanish. And these languages opened totally, not only one world, too many worlds for me. I learned to appreciate other cultures, learned to know more about the history, the political systems, and the many different traits that these cultures have. And most important, I took enormous pleasure in reading books in these languages. Authors like Stendhal, Franz Kafka, or Gabriel Garcia Marquez, or Philip Roth, and Umberto Eco. And also, just as important, I think I managed to appreciate more the cultures through the languages I spoke. And this thing gave me a certain easiness to approach people who had a culture other than my own. And as Nelson Mandela once said, if you talk to a man in a language that he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk in his own language, that goes to his heart. Do I always manage to speak to people's hearts? Well, I'm
always trying, and the process towards reaching multilingualism is a never-ending one. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, I have the pleasure to introduce you Constanze. She's giving her second speech, and the topic is about the protection of purpose to report crime. Welcome her. A strong round of applause, please.
Dear fellow Toastmasters, do you believe that it's good to tell the truth? Why am I asking this? I'm currently writing a publication on the protection of reporting persons. That means people who report crime. These are one of the most important sources for auditors or police officers, but still most of the people are afraid to report. How would you feel in a scenario like this? The Columbia University recently made a study on the people's willingness to report lies and the consequences they face. What they did is they put participants into groups. Every participant could decide to tell the truth or to tell a lie and profit from this lie. On the same time, they were explained that the lies are unacceptable and there are sanctions, and it could check on other group participants about what they told. The finding was that basically most people reported the lies, and that through this it became unprofitable for the whole group to lie. And people basically incorporated a common value, and they shunned people who tried to embezzle money or seek personal gain through dishonest measures. However, there was a second part of the example. The groups were then asked to decide on their group members. So that means that sometimes a group member was taken from a group and had to join another group, but only if everybody agreed to accept that member. Surprisingly, what was found out that these people who had previously reported were always shunned from groups. Also from groups who had never had a lie within their group. So this is a really interesting finding, and we try to reflect it in the publication, and I hope that people start to think about this seeming contradiction. On the one hand, it seems that public officials and policymakers should really try to protect the identity of the people who report. On the other hand, I think everybody should also question himself. Why is it important, or why do you think it's good that people tell the truth? But on the same hand, you might not want to work with these individuals. I would now like to introduce Meklit. It's her second speech, and she will talk about the issue of friendship and what it means.
Hello, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Today I'm going to tell you about what the importance of friendship is. What's friendship? Friendship is a type of relation between two people who care about each other. Let's agree on one point. A relationship needs to have some elements to be labeled as friendship. Let's consider these examples. A friend is the first person that you call to tell a good news. A friend is the first person you need to call when you hear good news. A friend remembers the color you wear, the food you like to eat, and everything that you have, and vice versa. A friend will accompany you to the most boring journey in life and make it seems very funny. In other words, friendship is wonderful. And much has been said and much has been written about the need of having good friends in life. That is not to say making good friends is an easy task. It demands time and effort, and it requires people to put someone other than themselves first sometimes. But in exchange for that, a friend can provide an immense amount of support and comfort in good and in bad times. Many qualities are necessary for good friendship, including honesty, trustworthiness, loyalty, and unconditional acceptance. A friendship should make people in the relationship happy. That means both of them should enjoy the time they spend together and look forward for other similar meetings. It's true that human beings can clash very easily, which is why it's hard for some people to maintain many friendships in life. Good friends can exist between two people at one stage of time, but life changes and personal growth may make friendship impossible at another stage. It can also be hard to meet always the people who would make the perfect friend, but it's good to know that good friendship remains in one's heart forever. Fellow Toastmasters, I managed to maintain good friendship, and what about you? Now I'm glad to introduce you to Nika.
I should apply to you. You have done wonderful. You see, we have managed to pass through several speeches, and we noticed that that tension to do it quickly, to do it in 2 minutes, and to transfer the message that you want to transfer has been positive. So now we are going to go over the evaluation of each speech, and your evaluator will tell us what he thinks about your speech. Yeah? So we'll start with the first one, as usual. So let's see what Valerie tells us about Eno.
Excuse me. Should I also time the evaluation?
Yes.
How many minutes?
Well, we say we stick to 2 minutes. We stick to 2 minutes. And then after the evaluation of Valerie, probably we'll have the time straight away, so we will have the whole evaluation complete. From just to save time, maybe we'll do the evaluation straight from the place where you are sitting. So we'll save some.
Fellow Toastmaster, Eno. First, I would like to speak about the surrounding of your speech, I would say. So, your confidence when you approach the podium, your way of speaking, and the way you possess the podium, you know. So we could see that the space all around the podium was your space. This is a very important point also for a speaker. You had to me a good introduction, clear, attracting. We wanted to see exactly what was the main point of your speech. But I have to say that I was lost a little bit when you reached the body of your speech. I did not know exactly which kind of message you wanted to convey. I had, for me, one message, but I was not clear that it was the one you wanted to convey to the audience. So to me, you wanted to speak about moments, but moments can be quite vague, and you wanted to speak about good and bad moments, and about also the fact that bad moments can also be as important as good moments. That's what I conclude about your speech. But I am not sure that it was exactly what you wanted to aim. So to me it was important, in order to avoid this kind of problem that can happen when giving a speech, to repeat several times in your introduction, for instance, what you wanted, which kind of message you wanted to communicate, you know. And I think that this is important to stress it several times. And it's never bad to repeat several times also a message, what you want to do, what you want to speak about, because if you know your subject, if you know really where you want to arrive, believe me, it's not always for us the case. And we hear you only once, and sometimes we can be distracted, or we could not understand everything in a speech, and it's important to repeat again where you want to go and where you want to lead us. So to me, you have something very positive, is that we see that you like speaking, you enjoy speaking, you have a good contact with your audience, and this is for me very important. But perhaps in your speech itself, you need to clarify and to divide it more clearly, all the three main points I spoke about at the very beginning. So a very clear introduction, it was the case, but in the body I was a bit lost, and in the conclusion also.
Now let's hear the end of time.
Yes, I did the next evaluation, that's Claudia. Yes.
Claudia?
Here, yeah, of course, yeah. 2 minutes is very short time, and I think you choose a very excellent topic, because you can limit your speech easily when you talk about personal topic. And by the way, I love personal topics. It kind of gets us to know each other better. And also, by the way, it would have been better to have this educational presentation last time, because there the speakers would have learned from it. For instance, Claudia, you went directly to the body. I could not see any real opening there, but I like very much your topic. You even were able to bring a photo there, of course, and you made it without any difficulties, no fumbling with the equipment. There it was, that I was admiring, excellent. Your presentation was relaxed, you spoke naturally. I just thought that at the beginning perhaps you were a little bit nervous because you forgot to greet us. Usually we greet us somehow, that was missing. Also, a real conclusion I could not hear there, so that's why I thought that had you heard the presentation earlier, you would have really paid attention to the beginning, to the conclusion. But the presentation was very relaxed and clear voice, no nervousness anymore in the presentation, so you are very well on the road to become an excellent speaker.
So the next speaker was Turkan. Did I pronounce well your name? Turkan. Okay. So I like the presentation, or better say, I think at the end of her speech we have a clear idea what Mr. Joval was. This speech was used, probably was a very good example to say what we want to say. Normally when we prepare speeches, sometimes it's very difficult to get to the point as in the speech that Valerie presented before. So we have to have very clear idea of what we want to say. And in this particular case, Turkan has very clear idea of what she wanted to say. She wanted to present this gentleman. So it was very easy for her to say, that's what I want to do, that's what I have to say, that's the story of him, and that's it. So that is a good example when we want to present another speech of any issue, so have very well clear what you want to say. So, I like her very much. Her speech was, the body was clear, everything. Nevertheless, the hands were here. And, yeah, close to the body. Probably you, every one of you, can use the hands more efficiently. Yeah? So say, I'm going to present this person, he's coming from this organization. So the hands move and you move the attention. So when you move the hand, the attention of the public goes with the hand. So my recommendation for you is to use better your hands. Don't leave them here. Yeah? Another thing is also to move a little bit, because you didn't move. You move a little bit at the beginning, but later not. So it's good also to move a little bit, because then you say, this is my place. I'm talking. So listen, that will be the key. Okay? So I liked very much the speech, and I think I stop now. The next one is Joby.
Claire.
Yes, I thought so. I'm getting both of these together. Thank you very much. So, fellow Toastmasters, honoured guests, let me first give an evaluation to Toastmaster Joby. I thought that your speech was really interesting. It was well researched, it was well delivered, it was well structured. At the podium, unfortunately, I was sitting behind you, so I had to guess a little bit, but I think that you were making eye contact with everybody. So this was good. One point that I would make, which was a little bit less good, was that your hands were pinned here. And I heard something, actually, just I think this morning or last night, about the positioning of the hands here. Something about covering the second chakra. And that has some significance, apparently. But you're Indian, I'm sure you know what that is. So we need to move our hands a little bit, and we can use our hands, of course, to reinforce the message. Other good points about your speech were that you paused. I don't know if anybody noticed, but when Joby came to the podium, he came slowly and organised himself. He took that time to be in control rather than panicked. Yeah? And he also did the same thing in his speech. So you had some very nice pauses. I said at the beginning of today's meeting that pauses can also be very powerful. Don't make them so long that people are waiting, but make them long enough for people to hear what you have to say and absorb it. Give them time. You don't need to rush through. I thought the facts that you gave us were really interesting. I learned from this. The only thing that I would suggest would be that there were a couple of times when I didn't quite catch the pronunciation of a word that you were using. But other than that, I thought it was a fantastic speech because it was well prepared, well researched, and extremely well delivered. So my only constructive comment for the future is to use your hands a little bit more. So for a second speech, this was amazing, and I congratulate you. And now, neatly moving on to the next person that I'm evaluating, which is Toastmaster Stefan. So, Toastmaster Stefan, I thought it was a very nice speech, and I thought that the point was such a valuable point. Fun means productivity. And I caught your point right at the beginning. That was extremely clear what your point was. There was a point a little bit later when I lost you, and you lost your thread as well. So when I think back to your speech, you mentioned Desmond Tutu, and you were going to connect him to this idea of racial inclusion, racial diversity, and that fitting in, and also this idea of fun means productivity, but I didn't get the connection, ultimately. So if it was not clear to me, it was probably not clear to everybody else, but most importantly, it wasn't clear to you, and that's why I think you lost your thread. So we need to work on the speech structure there, again, the introduction, body, conclusion. Apart from that, the way you delivered your speech was really nice. I thought that you occupied the space really nicely, you used gestures really nicely. You have a very warm manner when you're speaking. It's very engaging, so people warm to you. So I loved your point, I loved your message. I think that you already are a really good speaker. You just need to work on your structure a little bit, and then it's going to go much more smoothly. So thank you for that contribution. I'm personally going to take it into my working life. I think I do already, actually, the fun and productivity. I'm already with you on that. So thank you very much, and good luck for the next speech.
So the next person that we need to evaluate is Glenda. He is evaluating Glenda. Put the camera to your side.
Fellow Toastmasters, when Glenda started, I was so amazed. She felt completely at home, absolutely captivating. I went down my list, my checklist. I wanted to put 1, 1, 1, 1 everywhere. I thought, that's not the way to go. You can't give a beginning Toastmaster ones everywhere. There's nothing then to improve. They might think that they're just perfect, and there's no room to improve. So I re-evaluated and went back and tried to find things to change and change the numbers down a little bit just to leave some room for improvement. The very beginning, the topic was not exactly clear to me what the topic was. It would be good at the very beginning to express your topic very clearly. Also, your conclusion. I think it's good to finish with a proverb. You finished with a proverb, you made a saying. It would have been good there also to repeat that saying so that it really hits home and we know what you're saying. A couple of words you used. I think when you use the word discipline, you will have to develop some discipline. That didn't come across quite so clearly whether you meant the word discipline or that wasn't exactly clear. There was a couple of times some words that didn't come through very clearly. All in all, I was very inspired, very impressed, came across very well. You looked like a completely natural speaker, that you enjoy speaking, very friendly manner, which is very captivating, and I've totally enjoyed it. Congratulations on your speaking.
Now let's Magdalena to evaluate the idiom.
Fellow Toastmasters and here in Junk. How to ensure that our children are going to speak and master their mother language? This is, I think, for this audience, a very relevant question because we are all an international community and probably this is something we are all hoping it will happen. Thank you for that, for bringing that topic. You managed in your speech to explain to us our opinions and you illustrated it very well. I agree with you. I even read some time ago that if a person does not master their mother language, they cannot master any other language, and then of course their thinking capacity is reduced. So of course I'm going to try also to ensure that my child will master her mother language. You're an interesting case, and speaking about your speech evaluation, before you were not active as a speaker, I understand, in Toastmasters Korea. However, I see you're an experienced, maybe silent speaker, because in the podium you look as you already have experience, and you probably have gathered it through the years you've been attending and silently learned, even though maybe you were not giving prepared speeches. So you have a very good delivery. You already feel very comfortable, I think, at the stage. Maybe some nervousness, but I saw you have eye contact with the audience, and you are also, mastering the art of pauses already. You didn't rush through your story. You made breaks. You gave us time to absorb what you were saying. Another thing that I like is you illustrated very well the story you told us, so it was easy to follow. A few points what I would say you can improve is especially about the structure. You, for example, at the beginning, you started saying good afternoon, and then I think you brought us through the story of the person speaking. You could have already involved all of us, because making a question, how do you ensure, for example, that your children master their mother language, this is a question that already is important for all of us. And then if you take the audience with you at the very beginning. They get more interested, and then your introduction is more powerful. The body was good. You explained your point with some one or two stories. You illustrated it, and then your conclusion. I think you made the point again at the end. I liked it. But also, you could have spoken louder. Don't be shy. At some points, I had to make an effort to hear you, but you were saying very good things and nice things to hear. So to conclude, I believe you achieved the objectives of the project. I believe you have a lot, of assets already, so I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you very much. The next person to be evaluated is Nadia.
Nadia, it's very interesting listening to so many speeches that are all so different and everyone is so unique. The issue I had when you started was the contrast. You had a very soft-spoken voice. Your manner was very friendly, very interesting. It made me so curious. Your opening was just so captivating. You just pulled us into your story and we just wanted to hear the rest of it and find out what's happening next. It was exciting. It was spannend, no? So it's full of suspense. So that was very interesting. You also made your title very clear. How did I get my present job? That was very good at the very beginning. So we knew what you were going to talk about and you told us about it and you concluded with that. So in terms of the goal of the project, which is what we usually address when we're doing an evaluation, you addressed the issue and organised your speech very, very well. One word I didn't understand clearly, whether it was the volume or the pronunciation. It sounded like you said I think you said they rescheduled it, or they scheduled it for 2 o'clock. And first I thought you said they skilled it for 2 o'clock. So I didn't understand what you meant. As you continued, I recognised what you meant, and especially when you told us they rescheduled it for 3 and then for 5, so that became quite obvious. At the very end, when you talked about the name of the organisation, it wasn't clear to me. I realised then, okay, you talked about the INCB later on, so that became obvious. But when you were talking about the issue and that organisation, you could have made that clearer at the beginning or at the first time when you introduced the name, the organisation by name, and at the end that your present job is with this particular organisation. All in all, wonderful start. Thank you very much.
The next person to be evaluated is Duishan. Is that pronunciation correct? Absolutely. Okay. So I enjoyed his speech because it was very calm, very relaxed. Yeah? So it moved the attention of everyone. So everyone started to get attention. And then, with the time, the importance of what he was saying was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Yeah? So that movement is important. At the beginning you can start talking about something, but then get to something more important. And that was important. Also for him, it will be good if he uses his hands, because he didn't use it. He could have used his hands here in the podium. So trying to use your hands, yeah, even your legs, because you were playing football. Don't hit the chair, but you can use it. So that's a very, very good speech. And I think you have a good balance when you speak. So you don't go there extreme, meaning to talk too fast, to talk too slow, so you're more or less a very good balance. So I like it very much. So I think you will do a lot of good progress in the next speeches. Congratulations. So next one, Victoria will evaluate Jen.
Fellow Toastmasters,
Gentian, correct. A new Toastmaster is born. Welcome to a lifelong journey full of challenges, passion, and fun. Gentian, your icebreaker, to me, was quite amazing because we met coming to this room and you said you hadn't prepared or half prepared and you didn't really have the time to do it, but you came so self-confident with a pleasant voice that I thought, my God, this is not an icebreaker speech. I mean, this is a speaker, a real speaker. So coming back to this project today, the icebreaker, the first aim is that you begin speaking to people, which you did perfectly. The next one was talking about yourself so that the audience gets to know yourself, which you did, again, perfectly. You had a very good introduction and you easily flowed and moved into the body, explaining about your personal interests, languages, cultures. And then there was a sudden end, which I was a bit, surprised. But your main aim to start speaking, you have achieved well. And I believe, Gentian, that you have this very rare gift of speaking to people's hearts, because that's what you also mentioned. I think it's important for yourself, your personal, that you can actually reach the person. So congratulations, and I'm really looking forward to the second speech.
So now we have Valerie Constance.
So fellow Toastmaster Constance, your strength was you speak about something you know, and it's always, I think, something positive because you are completely involved in your subject and you know exactly where you want to go and what message you want to convey. Nevertheless, when we speak about something we know, sometimes we have to bear in mind that if it is a very technical subject or something really precise, people attending your speech are not like you and could not always follow as quick as you can imagine your subject. So for instance, when you started with the title of your speech, you repeated, I think, twice. I have this in mind. You should perhaps have shortened it or try to rephrase it on a different way because the title was quite long and needs time to understand exactly what we have behind. Because you speak about your job and you speak also about the job of other people, So we had in your speech two different roles, your role and the role of people reporting crime. So I think that there it was important to make a little bit the difference in your speech. It was a good speech, you had a good body, you could give example, you see on one hand, on the other hand, so we had the feeling that we had in front of us someone with knowledge about the subject. Nevertheless, it's also important to slow down. Because you came with a lot of information and without pause, without breaks, and for us we need to digest the information. We need to see where is the introduction, where is the body, and where is the conclusion. And for that part, for instance, I think that you came so quickly to the conclusion that to me, I did not know that it was the end of your speech and it was already your conclusion. So I think that the speech should be perhaps better structured with more pauses in between, and we have to know where we are in which part all the time. But otherwise it was a good speech.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Valerie. And now for our last evaluation, I'd like to turn to Toastmaster Maya, who is evaluating Toastmaster Mecklied.
Toastmaster Mecklied, fellow Toastmasters, friendship,
what a simple and excellent topic that I have to congratulate you. It was a good choice. However, I was missing the beginning, and again I said, had you heard the presentation of Valerie last time, you would have chosen a catching sentence. I advise everybody, and many of you already did it. Just a very catching sentence at the beginning brings us to listen and squeeze our ears to hear what the speaker says. You had prepared your speech very well, but it was still on paper. Maybe you had no time to learn it, but try to get rid of the paper and look at us instead of looking at the paper. It always takes your whole, you can't bring your attention to the public if you just read it. So that is my tip to you. Learn it, and it does not need to be word by word as you have written it. You can learn it by heart and speak freely. But it was very well prepared. Also, the ending sentence was, I did not write it down, it was a good sentence, but exactly like the speaker next to you, you said it so fast and reading that I did not realize that it is the ending sentence. And it gives the kind of impression that you try to escape quickly to your own place. You don't want to give that impression. But if you read it from the paper, that it gives this impression. So a short break and then really say the sentence so heavily that we understand this is your message. You don't need to say this is my conclusion, but say it in a way that we understand. I remember that I paid attention, it was an excellent sentence. It was just the way you said it, by the way, that we did not catch it so well. But it was a good speech, but do it more freely. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Maya. Now, in view of the time, I'd like to wrap up very, very quickly because we're moving towards 2 o'clock at this stage. So, with the agreement of Toastmaster Krista, I'd like to do the timing by email, so I could have your list, if that's okay. Sure. And in terms of the general evaluation that we normally have at every meeting, Toastmaster Edgar had to leave, so he passed on to me that he thought that the meeting went very smoothly today. And I think we more or less did start on time today, so I think it has gone quite well. We ran over a little bit of time in terms of the educational presentation, which is understandable, but we need to keep those really to a minimum if we're going to stop before 2. A couple of points. I heard somebody who was introducing the next speaker say, just to introduce the next speaker. Now, when we use the word just, it's like, oh, I'm just doing up my shoelaces. You know, it's a little sort of something that is not very significant. But what we're doing here is we're trying to build up the next speaker. So we don't want to be just introducing them and getting that out of the way. We want to really build them up. So it's with great pleasure that we introduce the next person. So think of a little bit of fanfare as you do it, with a bit of flourish, to honour that person, and also honour the audience as well. And we should reduce our meta-language. So we don't want to be saying, well, today I thought I would tell you about so-and-so. Just tell us. Just tell us what it is. Don't tell us about preparing your speech, what happened when you were preparing, what you thought you might prepare and how it changed. We don't want any of that. We just want the speech itself, especially when we think about the limitations of time. I think it was Toastmaster Nicole last week who said, cut the fat, just leave the flesh. So you have to be ruthless at the editing stage. And all these words that you've lovingly put together, at the end of the day they have to go very often because you don't have time for them. So keep it as short as possible. So again, next week we're going to have 2-minute speeches. If you didn't manage to do your speech today, then could you give today's speech next week? Otherwise, for those who did manage to do today's speech, next week we're moving on to get to the point speeches. We don't have time for the speaker advisor workshop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on email, if everybody is in agreement, I will simply put names of advisors against speech crafters, and I'll just send that to you if everybody agrees. So I'll just pick those randomly and put them together. And the second thing that I want to do next week, today what you did was you practiced introducing another speaker, so this is one more skill. The skill we want to add next week is to evaluate a speaker. So for that you're going to be looking at chapter 7 of your Speechcrafter manual, where you'll find full instructions. One final word before we actually finish is you have more or less everything you need in your manuals. And of course you're getting advice here in the evaluations, in people's recommendations. But there are a couple of things I would like you to remind you to use. One is to use your mentor. Fortunately, because I was here this week, a couple of people were able to come to me and they stood up in front of me very courageously. They stood up in front of me and delivered their speeches. So there I'm able to say, okay, slow down, say that louder, use your hands. Are you looking at the audience? Are you making eye contact? I can make a lot of suggestions. So you may have noticed that certain people did quite polished things. I'm not saying it's all to do with me, because they had other excellent advisors as well. But a lot of people today were really very, very polished. You can take advantage of that. Toastmasters is also about being proactive. So the more you do, the more progress you're going to make. But the more you ask for support, the more polished you're going to be. So do please ask for that support. And the second thing I'd like to remind you to do, which we need from you, is we have a software program called Easy Speak, and we are sending you the link, and we're asking you to go to Easy Speak. I set it up here, but I haven't logged in. So this is Easy Speak, and here you can find the meeting. I haven't got it here and I don't want to log in now. But here you will find the meeting. On the left you will see your name, and we're asking you to click there to tell us that you are coming to the meeting. And on the right you will see your role at the meeting, whatever it is. So next week you will be evaluating as well. So next week you're going to have 2 roles, which is unusual. One is as a speaker, and a second one is as an evaluator. Now, several people arrived today and they said, oh, we're not doing our speeches today. Now, think about the fact that our time is really limited in this room, and that we need to finish on time because everybody needs to get back to work very, very fast. The only way we can do that is through Easy Speak. So don't come to the meeting and tell us. It's very disruptive if 5, 6 people are arriving and saying, I can't do this, and I'm doing that, and I'm not here, and several people didn't turn up today. It's very confusing for us. We have software so that we can know exactly who's coming and who's taking a role. So one of the things we want to encourage you to do is to use Easy Speak. If you have problems logging in, do please let us know, because we'll sort those out for you.
I can't log in.
You can't log in.
May I just add that if you have problems accessing Easy Speak, you can always contact one of us. For instance, me, I'm going to send out an email so that you have the contact of an email address. So if you have problems, just don't be quiet, but tell us, and we'll help you. All right?
Yes, so do please ask us for help. So with that, I would like to congratulate you. I'd like to say how much I've enjoyed. Just like last week, I was watching you on video, and you all look like stars to me last week. And again this week, I'm just amazed by the sheer diversity and the fascinating things that you bring here to talk about. So I can't wait to see what you're going to produce next week. Good luck with it.
Amazing, you're a point.
Good luck for next week. It was great.